Hello everyone. In today's lecture we will talk about Ito integral of a general process. Now first of all, what is meant by a general process? In a simple process we assumed that for a you can partition the given time slot into different intervals in such a way that across any interval the process was constant. Okay. However, not every process would satisfy this criteria. Okay. Hence, now we need to define Ito integral of a general process. So, when I say process is general, basically we mean it need not be simple. Okay, so not necessarily a simple process. What does it mean? It means that it may be a continuously varying process instead of process which is constant across certain intervals. Okay. And it may also be discontinuous at some point, so it may be allowed to have jumps. So both possibilities are there. Okay, so for example you may have some process which is something like this. Okay, so we should be able to define Ito integral for such processes even when they are not constant. Okay, so how do you think we should proceed? Have you come across any similar problems in, say, probability theory? Now, in probability theory, first we define expectation of a simple random variable, and then for defining expectation of a non-negative random variable, what we do is we approximate that non-negative random variable by a sequence of simple random variables, and because we know expectation of simple random variables, we define expectation of that non-negative random variable as limit of sequence of expectations of simple random variables. Okay, converging to, of course, that random variable. So we are going to do something similar. In fact, that is exactly the process when you compute Riemann integral also. If you recall your real analysis or calculus classes, so if you want, say, Riemann integral of this curve, what you do is you divide again the given interval into some partition, and then you compute lower Riemann sum, upper Riemann sum. So basically while computing lower and upper Riemann sum, you are again kind of approximating the given curve by curves which are constant across these intervals. Okay, so we are trying to approximate the general curve by a kind of simple curve. Okay, and then we take limit. So we will do exactly same thing here. So let xnt be defined as x of tj if t is between tj to tj plus 1. So what we are trying to do? We are trying to approximate. So let me try to draw a picture. So suppose this is the process for which we want to compute the integral. Okay, so let me take, say, n equal to 10, and this is a capital T. So we would first divide our interval into 10 equidistant parts, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on up to 10, and then in each interval, so how are we defining a new process? New process we are defining as value of the original process at the lower end point of that interval. Okay, so for 0 to t1 the process would be this. Okay, lower end point, this is horizontal thing. Then at t1 the original process takes this value, correct? So my new process would be this constant. At t2 the original process takes this value, so my new process would take this value, and so on. Okay, so what we are doing is at every beginning of the interval we take that constant, so what we are doing, in every interval we take the lower end point. Okay, so we compute value of the original process at lower end point and define value of the new process in that interval as that particular value. Okay. Now this new process is a simple process, and hence we know how to compute Riemann integral. Okay. And we say that if we take limit, then what is going to happen? Limit over n. So when we take n equal to 10, I have divided my interval into 10 parts. So in general, we have divided interval into n parts. So as n goes to infinity, these intervals become smaller and smaller, and so our approximation becomes better and better. Okay. So we define, so x and t by definition becomes a simple process because it has only n possible values, correct? So every x and t is a simple process. Every x and t has exactly n possible values, and we know how to compute Itho integral of a simple process. So using that, we define Itho integral for the general process as integral xu dzu over 0 to capital T as limit over n going to infinity integral 0 to t xnu dzu. Okay, so limit of integral of simple processes. This is exactly similar to what we do in expectation in probability theory. Okay, and this limit is in the sense of an L2 limit. Okay, so this is defined in such a way that expectation of integral xnu dzu integral over 0 to t minus integral over 0 to t xu dzu square goes to 0. Okay, so it is kind of like quadratic mean convergence, something like that. Not exactly that, but something like that. Is it okay? So okay, as I told you, this is equivalent to expectation in probability theory, and this is also similar to what we do in Riemann integral. Okay, now if you remember, in Riemann integral or in Riemann-Stieltjes integral, when we say that okay, we are going to take a constant value across each interval, actually which value we take doesn't matter. We can take value of the function at lower end point, or we can take value of the function at upper end point, or we can also take value of the function in between, at some in between point. In every case, we do get exactly the same value of the integral. Okay. However, when we are dealing with integral with respect to Brownian motion, things are not that straightforward. Okay. So here we defined that the new process as process taking values similar to value at the lower end point. Okay. So that is actually Itho integral. So the value of the integral, final value of the integral does depend on choice of Tj star. What is Tj star? Tj star is a point in jth partition, jth set of the partition, okay, such that over jth interval the function is approximated by value at Tj star. Over jth interval the function is approximated by value at Tj star. Okay, so in the case of as I said, what TJ star you choose does make difference in the value in case of Ito calculus. So if we take what we did just now, that is if we take TJ star as the lower end point, left end point, then this is known as Ito integral. Okay. If you take TJ star as average of lower and upper end points, so if TJ star is TJ plus 1 by 2, something like this, then this becomes Stratonovich integral. Okay, this is no longer Ito integral. Don't worry, we are not going to study what is Stratonovich integral. Okay, for us Ito integral is enough. Okay, so we evaluate value of the integral at this point TJ star, and then we take limit. Okay. Okay, so this is how we define Ito integral for a general process. Is it okay so far? Okay, now let us try to compute Ito integral for some process. Okay, just to get a feel of how things work. So this is illustration for computation of Ito integral. Okay. So z is standard Brownian motion. Let us try to compute integral z dz over 0 to capital T. Okay. Now how do we compute? Just like we discussed right now, we have to construct a simple process. So z can go anywhere, we know. So we have to construct a simple process. So we divide this into, let's say, equidistant parts. Okay, and on each path, so we know that okay, we will have to take lower end point and define the simple process, right? So this, then maybe this, then maybe this, and so on. Okay, so if I want n divisions, then first point is going to be t by n, this is 2t by n, 3t by n, so the last one is nt by n. Okay, that is t. So let us define the simple process. Define the simple process Z n t, because it is for particular n, z n t as z at kt upon n if t is in that interval. So if t is between kt by n and k plus 1t by n. Okay, so we define a simple process Znt as Z at the lower end point. Okay, whatever we drew in the graph, I am just trying to put in notations. I am not doing anything new. Okay, now and this of course is for k between 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. Okay. Okay. So now we have Ito integral which we want to compute. So we want to compute integral z, but we would try to compute for the simple process first. So we will compute integral znu du over the range 0 to capital T, and then later we will take limit as n going to infinity. Okay. Now by definition, we know this could be written as sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z at ktn into z at k plus 1t by n minus z at kt by n. Okay, z at kt by n, this is value of the process, value of the simple process, and then we know upper end point minus lower end point, value of the function at upper end point minus lower end point. Okay, I am just using the definition of Ito integral, nothing else. Okay, I mean, it may seem slightly daunting at first, but all these things are pretty straightforward. They are not complicated. Okay, they might be lengthy, they are a bit messy, but they are not difficult. Okay. Okay. So this I could write as sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z kt by n into z k plus 1t by n minus z kt by n square. Okay, z kt by n square. Now we have to actually find out this value so that we can finally take limit and try to evaluate it. So we will need to do some manipulations. Okay, so let me start with something else. So let me define a new quantity, say r as z capital T whole square minus z 0 whole square minus sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z k plus 1 t upon n minus z kt upon n whole square. Okay, so from where do I get this quantity? See, what we are trying to do is, let me go back slightly. Okay, so we have square term over here and we have kind of a product term over here. So we will try to see if we can write this as, you know, a whole square term. Okay, and to make that whole square thing we are trying to do some adjustments, but right now I am not doing adjustments over here. I have started with a completely new term. Okay, and from where does this come? See, here squares here, and we have like consecutive k and k plus 1. So if we didn't have square, then most of these things will get cancelled, right? Because minus zk, then plus zk, minus zk minus 1, etc. So most of the in between terms would get cancelled and we'll be left with last term and first term. Okay, that's why we have this zt square and z naught square. So this is okay. Let us try to simplify this and see if we can somehow get what we want. So z naught square, actually z naught is 0, but and now this whole square, let me try to expand. So whole square could be written as, let me take sum also outside. So sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1. Then we have z square k plus 1 t by n plus z square kt by n minus 2z k plus 1 t by n into z kt by n. Okay, So this is zt square minus z naught square. And now see, okay, let me write. So this is minus sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z square k plus 1 t by n minus sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z square kt by n, and then minus minus plus 2 times sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z k plus 1 t by n into z kt by n. Okay. 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 Now see this term, this term. Try to see what happens. Now when you substitute k equal to 0, I am going to get z square t by n here. I am going to get same term when I put k equal to 1 over here. Okay. So k equal to 0 term is extra, but 1 onwards I am going to get terms from here, and then last term in the first here. So here when I substitute n minus 1, I actually get z square t, whereas I don't get z square capital T over here. Okay. So except for this first term from here and last term from here, rest of the terms are same. Okay. So let me write this as zt square minus z naught square. So last term from here is extra, so this is minus zt square. First term from here is also extra, so minus z square 0. Okay, and then rest all terms are actually occurring in both, so twice. So I would write as minus 2 times sum over k going from 0 to 1 to n minus 1, 1 to n minus 1 z square kt by n. Okay, and of course this thing is here. Okay, so z square t is going to get cancelled and rest of the terms are going to occur twice. So I have minus 2 sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z square kt upon n. Okay, plus 2 sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z k plus 1 t by n into z kt by n. Okay, and we have given some name to this term. We are calling this term as r, right? So what I have is, let me slightly rewrite. We have r by 2 is equal to sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z k plus 1 t upon n into z kt upon n minus z square kt upon n. Okay, r by 2 is this. Okay, and we had left some thing here. See, this is what I is 0 to k going from 0 to n minus 1 z kt by n z k plus 1 t by n minus z square kt by n. Is it exactly same? Correct? Right hand side is exactly same. So we are saying that integral is actually equal to r by 2. Okay, of course we have to take limit, so this is integral for the simple process. So I is r by 2. And now what is r? So we have some other form for r, right? This is a simplified form, but we started with some other form. So this is the form, and we know in this form z naught is 0, so I can substitute 0. So I am left with zt square and then this whole square business. Okay, so let me write I as this, so that is zt square minus sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 and then whole square. Sum over k going from 0 to n minus 1 z k plus 1t by n minus z kt by n whole square. Okay. Okay. So this is my integral. Half of this, because I want r by 2, right? So half of this. Now can we simplify this further? Remember, we have to finally take limit as n goes to infinity. Now zk plus 1t by n minus zkt by n, this is like an increment for a Brownian motion. So we do know something about the increment. So we know that in general ztn minus ztn minus 1 bracket I should write, not subscript, follows normal distribution with mean 0 and variance tn minus 1 for a standard Brownian motion. Correct? So we are going to use that. So we want to compute limit of this quantity as n goes to infinity. So because increments are independent of each other, this is kind of like sum over some independent random variables. Okay, so we can have something like CLT coming in picture over here. Okay, so this is sum over some independent random variables and the number of summands is going to infinity, right? Because n. So it's like central limit theorem type of argument. So whatever is the inside random variable, if I can compute its expectation and variance, then I can say that okay, it will go to something. Okay, so that inside variable is z k plus 1 t by n minus z kt by n, but whole square, because sum is of squares. Now this is normal, so what can I say about square? So if I want to compute expectation of this quantity is same as variance of the normal random variable, correct? Because its mean is 0, so expectation of square is same as variance of this inside quantity, and inside quantity is normal, so variance is difference between the time lags, so it is k plus 1 t by n minus k t by n, which is nothing but t by n. Okay, and if I want to compute variance of this square, okay, I have computed expectation of this square. If I want to compute variance of this square, so variance of z k plus 1 t by n minus z k t by n whole square. So variance of this would be expectation of square of this minus expectation of this whole square. So expectation of fourth power of that. So let me give some name to this. So let me call this as AK. So expectation of AK raised to 4 minus expected AK square whole square, correct? And AK has normal distribution, so expectation of AK raised to 4 would be, okay, fourth moment for a normal random variable is 3 sigma raised to 4, right? So here variance is, means sigma square is t by n, so it becomes 3 t square by n square minus this expectation we computed just now is t by n, so minus t square by n square, square of the expectation, that is 2t square upon n square. Okay, this is variance of the individual term. Expectation of individual term we have computed and variance. But because we have sum, what can I say about this sum? So expectation of the sum would become t, and variance of this sum would become n times 2t square by n square. So this would become 2t square upon n. So this variance goes to 0. Variance is going to 0. Expectation is constant. So it would converge to that constant t. Okay. So what I have is this sum. Okay. So this sum is going to t. So we are getting, finally we are getting that I is equal to limit n going to infinity of whatever we had computed earlier, and that would be half z square t minus t. This minus t is coming because expectation of sum is converging to t. Okay. So this actually is what? Integral z dz. Compare this with usual integral. Usual integral would have been simply half z square t. So we have this additional factor coming in picture because this is an etho integral and not usual integral. Okay. Again, as I mentioned, this may seem a bit tedious. All these arguments, central limit theorem and all these things. But I don't think there is anything difficult as such. Try to write each and every step down along with the justification, and I think it should be clear. Okay. So let me stop here. Thank you.